Hello, everybody. My name is Kobe Warner. Welcome back to another episode of KOBLIZZY. This is episode 662. I don't know why it was so important for that visual. Anyway, so thanks for being here, whether or not you're joining me for the very first time or you're back for another episode. I'm happy you're here nonetheless, and I'm very excited for everything we have in store to talk about. Lots of stuff, honestly. I'm just gonna, without further ado, get into the song of the week, and then I'll run off on 11 tangents, 12 even, maybe a perfect dozen. I'm sure I'll just find plenty of things to discuss. But this week, I feel like, again, I keep saying this. I've talked about this probably 3 weeks, maybe a month in a row now. There is so much new music coming out. I'm trying to stop crossing my legs as much because I heard I was watching, maybe this isn't the right place to learn, but I was watching this YouTube video where Monet Exchange and the Vivian were learning, what's it called? Like when you you learn decorum, etiquette. They were doing like an etiquette class, I think. Is my mic too hot? Anyway, the lady said that if you cross your legs, it'll make you more prone to those, like, blusted. That's correct. BLUSTED. Busted blood cells like on the back of your legs. So I've been trying to cross my legs less, but it's such a habit. But also the chiropractor says that if you cross your legs and you're putting all your weight on like one tailbone and then it like unaligns you. So ideally you would sit like all the way back, sitting straight up, but I'm not going to sit like this because I'm not a square. And so a good alternative I've heard is to cross your ankles like a lady, of course. And it's just a way to because I'm like, these shorts are so short, it's almost like a skirt. I need to cover my coochie up a little bit, you know? So cross the ankles rather than crossing the legs, or sit, obviously, like square. Hello? What the fuck is happening? Is the mic cutting out? Did you guys hear that? Or did I just have a seizure? Like, what? I might have been holding it badly. You're supposed to put these mics on the stand. When I bought these, I was about to say these things, but when I bought this mic specifically, I had to get this like cloud lifter thing to go with this little amp, preamp. But what's going on? Do you hear that? I'm going to hold it. I'm confused. What's the deal? That's making me upset. Anyway, the guy said I should put it on a mic stand so it always stays an even distance away from your face, but I'm trying something new. I always used to have it on a mic stand, but I felt like it would be kind of uncomfortable to sit there like that the whole time. So I started holding it in the last couple of episodes, but now it's like making a funny like glitching situation. I don't know if I'm tripping or if it's actually doing that. Is everything like plugged in tight? Anyway, so the song of the week, you guys, is Boy by Chloe Bailey, but as a solo artist, she just goes by Chloe. And I love Chloe and her sister Hallie so much. I actually had the distinct privilege of seeing Chloe on her In Pieces tour in Atlanta. Being all proper, getting out here and code switching so y'all can understand what I'm saying. In Atlanta. Anyway, so she's at the Eastern. It's a venue I've been to. Damn. A frog in my throat. Got a frog in my throat. It's a venue I've been to tons of times. I've seen a drag race tour there. I think Renee Rapp was there. Chloe Bailey was there. I think I've seen 4 shows there. Somebody else. Oh, Gracie Abrams was there with Tiny Habits as their opener. Oh my God, you guys. I have been on so many different tangents already. I'm so sorry, but please follow me. There's one thing I want to tell you about. I'll come back to it. I'm going to come back to something about Tiny Habits. But anyway, Chloe Bailey in the Eastern. I had the privilege to see her last year, and because Atlanta is Chloe and her sister Hallie's hometown, and because they started making music together as a solo group, first making covers online on YouTube, and then Parkwood and Beyonce saw them and then signed them subsequently to some sort of like distribution deal, I think, because then Parkwood partners with Columbia, and their record label is Columbia, but the one who does all their visual work, and so not a distribution deal. The one who does like their production, the visual work, the performances, the visuals, stuff like that. That's Parkwood. And then the record label does the distribution and the marketing. Right? I think that's how it works. I should have took music business when I was at Berkeley. I'm flopping. But anyway, so Parkwood signed Parkwood and Columbia signed Chloe and her sister Halle, and they released EP. I think it's an EP called Sugar Symphony. I don't think it's an album. I think it was like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then they released an album called The Kids Are All Right. And before that, actually, their very first EP had like some covers on, like I think it was like Roar and like Applause. It was a long time ago. And then anyway, their first album was The Kids Are All Right. Their second album, it literally came out on June 12th, 2020, my 18th birthday. It's called Ungodly Hour, and I'm obsessed with that album. And it was such a great body of work. But of course, then Halle was in The Little Mermaid, so then Chloe made a solo album, and then Halle made some solo music, and they're still working on another record together, they said, but they've just been doing other things for the past 4 years. But their Ungodly Hour record's incredible. Anyway, all of this to say, because Atlanta's their hometown, Chloe brought Halle out at her show in Atlanta. Chloe's In Pieces tour. She brought Halle out. They sang a couple, Ungodly Hour and Do It, I think, and something else. And it was really special, and it was such a great show. And then my car got booted because I didn't pay for my parking, and I forgot. I should have paid for the parking. It was like $20, $25, and then the boot was $75. So obviously it would have been more wise to pay for the cheaper parking than the expensive boot. But I forgot. I was in a hurry, and I was trying to get a good spot in line, and you're like supposed to pay on your phone. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do it when I get in line. And then I forgot. And then my car got booted. But the show was amazing, except I wore heels. Oh my God. And that's when I learned my lesson. It wasn't even like I was like, it's not a real heel. It was like a chunky, like 3-inch heeled boot. It wrecked my foot. Like I had a Taylor Swift concert the same week. The Eras tour, and my feet were in so much pain that the heels that I then wore to the Taylor Swift concert, which were a little bit higher, like 4 inches, they were very, very uncomfortable. But after those two concerts, for Taylor Swift, I didn't want to sacrifice my look, so I wanted to wear the shoe. But I learned my lesson at that Chloe Bailey concert. Wear flats. I'm tall enough to wear flats. And the reason I'm talking about Chloe is because her song, a new song, Boy Bye, is the song of the week. I love it. It's like, well, they've actually labeled it R&B, but honestly, I think they could call it a pop track. It's like, boy, bye. This is a different key. Bye. I won't even cry. You stupid motherfucker. Boy, bye. That's the chorus. It's like very kind of like a pop chorus. And then it just kind of has interesting production. It's like that's a different key, but that's the melody of the verses, and then the chorus is what I sang first. It's just a good song. Obviously, she sounds better than me, so you should go give it a listen. But Boy Bye, it's like a pop R&B track from Chloe Bailey, a new single, and I think this might be her radio hit. I'm like, it's a catchy song, and I literally love every song Chloe and Halle's ever put out. And Chloe, everybody was shitting on Chloe when she first went solo, saying she was like too overtly sexual, and I think they just hate women. Like, I don't really care. I mean, why would I care? It's not me. But I'm saying she doesn't care either, because the people that are shitting on her for expressing her sexuality as a mid-20s person, you're a loser. I'm like, she's a grown woman and she can do what she wants to. And like, oh, she's too sexual, and I just don't. And then she did the movie that had the Joyful Noise plot a little bit on Peacock, where they were like in a show choir. I forget what it was called, but she was in that movie, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, why is she trying to talk about God?" But if you know them, if you've been a fan of them, they've always been religious. They've always talked about how much they love God. They're like vegans, and they're kind of like earthy kind of girls. They really started out kind of alternative R&B. They weren't so mainstream. They were more contemporary to me. And that's why I liked them so much. And then, of course, they've come into the mainstream over the years. And then she wants to start shaking ass. Okay, moving on. Like, who cares? And by the way, her concert, Chloe Bailey's In Pieces tour, the venue probably held about 2,000 people, 1,500, 2,000 people. And it was such a production for a show. It wasn't an arena show or a stadium show, and I don't mean that with shade. I'm just saying it's on a stage, and so when you're limited with space because it's a stage, there's only so much you can do with flash, of like the flashy production value. And every bell and whistle was a part of Chloe's performance. And there was like costume switches on stage, and just there was like a screen at the front of the stage to begin with. There was just visual stuff to look at. And she performed her ass off and sang her ass off, and Halle came out and sang, and she looked beautiful. It was just a really, really, I just realized that when I saw Halle at Chloe's show, she was already pregnant because she gave birth in December, and oh my God, she was already pregnant. That's crazy. That's crazy. I just put it together. Yeah, we were in Atlanta. Hallie had been back from The Little Mermaid for a while. Anyway, so wow, that's crazy. I just two and two together. So Boy Bye is the song of the week. And regarding Tiny Habits, what I wanted to say is that I mentioned going to their show last week and I raved about how amazing it was. And it was so stunning, like beautiful to listen to. They're such cute people. It was just a great show. But something that I forgot to mention, I went with my dad. He's taller than I am. I'm 6'2", my dad's 6'6". And when you're in a concert, it was like, a flat floor, standing room only type of concert with Tiny Habits. And when you're of height in a situation like that, you have to be, I'm not as tall as my dad is. And so for me, I'm like, I want to be in the front. And I'll stand off to the side in the front so as not to block many people's view. But I'm kind of like a guardrail. Like I'm a little thin. And so I don't block that much. And I'll put my hair up in situations like that. And so like I'm blocking like as little view as possible. I try to be courteous, but baby, if I get there early as hell because I'm trying to be in the front, I'm not gonna stand in the back just because I'm tall. I want to be as close as possible because I really can't see that good, to be for real. And what was I gonna say? Oh, so there was this. That was all I was gonna say, is that I was close to the front because that's where I stand. And again, I'll stand off to the side. I try to be courteous as possible. I was like all the way up next to like the side rail, but then my dad's a little bit taller than me, so he was standing like behind me a little bit off to the side. And anyway, this one girl tapped me on my shoulder, turned around, a beautiful girl, or woman, definitely older than me, not like by a lot. I'm just saying, girl, I don't mean to, some people don't like to be infantilized. She tapped me on my shoulder and she was like, some, and I was like, what? It was loud, there was music playing, there was nobody on stage yet, but just music. And she tapped me on my shoulder and I couldn't hear what she said. And I said, I'm sorry. And she said, I thought, can I take a photo of you? And I was like, sure. Can you take a photo of me? Sure. And I like stood up and I was like, I don't know why I thought she said that. But I genuinely thought she asked if she could take a photo of me. And she was like, no, that's not what I said, but I actually will take a photo of you. And so she gets out. The mic cut out again. I can't tell if it's just my headphones or if it's the thing. Anyways, she literally takes out her phone and she's like, it takes a photo of me. And I'm like posing. It was so silly. And then she was like, I said, can I stand in front of you? And I was like, oh yeah, actually there was a little bit of space in between me and the guy that was in front of me. I don't know why those people were like spacing out, but the people that I was standing around really weren't standing that close to me. And my dad was like behind me a little bit. And I was like, yeah, girl, come up here. And she was very nice. It was one person. She tapped me on my shoulder and asked nicely. And I was like, why would I say no? Because I am of the height. Like I said, I do try to be courteous. And I was off to the side. But where she was standing in front of me would have given a person who was shorter than me a great view. And my view was not compromised because she was there, because I'm 6'2". And so anyway, she was standing in front of me. We got to talking. And it's like it's her birthday month. It was April. It was already April. Yeah. So her birthday's this month. And I went on the 2nd. I can't believe it's almost been 2 weeks since I've seen them. Time the 2nd plus 14. Yeah, tomorrow's 2 weeks. That's nuts. I don't know where time goes. I just feel like that my concept of time has no concept. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, her birthday's this month, and for her birthday, she'll go to a bunch of concerts and treat herself to live events or something like that. And I thought that was really precious, and she was really nice. And I don't know, I just really love that Tiny Habits show. I love to go to smaller concerts now that I live near or outside of a big city, because I don't like stadium shows. Hot take. This might be an unpopular opinion, but maybe it isn't. I really don't know. I don't really like stadium shows because I feel like most artists don't have the capacity to fill up a stadium. And I don't mean that as shade, because it is very hard. Stadiums are huge, and they are meant to house tens of thousands of people to watch people throw balls or kick balls around and shoot them in basket. Or, actually stadiums are football, arenas are basketball, right? And then there's baseball. There's the Brave Stadium. Lady Gaga played there. And so that's a stadium, but not a football stadium. Anyway, so I say all this to say, Artists like Lady Gaga, artists like Beyonce fill up those stadiums. And I'm not going to bring Lady Gaga into it, not because she's not incredible, but I've actually never had the opportunity to see her live. When she was here for the Chromatica tour, I couldn't go. There was like a family situation going on, a family death, and it was just kind of inappropriate timing. And so that would have been my like opportunity to see her, and I didn't go. So I have never seen Lady Gaga live, but it's just the production value that I witness with somebody like Lady Gaga and that type of compelling performer. You can fill up a stadium, or somebody like Pink who flies around the stadium the whole show, who I've also never seen live, but I just know that people love her live shows. And then Beyonce, who I have had the privilege to see 2 times now, and hopefully 3 times if she goes on tour for Cowboy Carter. The Renaissance tour was nuts. The On the Run tour was crazy. I mean, the way they used the stadium, they had like a stage piece that like went out over the crowd, like all the way over the audience. People were like under it. It was nuts. And that was On the Run in 2018, years ago. The highest grossing hip hop tour of all time, by the way, like $250 million. And then the Renaissance tour made use of the stadium so beautifully, and they made use of the stage so beautifully. It was such a visually pleasing show, and no matter where you were, I was pretty close, but no matter where you were, I feel like you probably would have had a great view of what was going on, because they designed the show to look good from anywhere. Because it's such a big space, they want you to enjoy being on the front row because you're looking right at Beyonce, but they want them to enjoy being up there in the 300s in row 27, looking down at all the lights projecting over the audience and the lasers and shit. You know what I mean? There was something for everybody to see, no matter where you were. And when you design a show with that in mind, I think it's really, really compelling. But if you don't, and you don't have the privilege to be the money, the privilege, the opportunity to get the ticket, the time, whatever it may be, to be really, really close, these shows are getting expensive now. And concerts, it used to be like kind of like a fair game. You could get tickets like close to it the day of sometimes. Now, when the tickets go on sale for some of these high caliber artists, they're bought up in 25 minutes, and the resellers are selling them for 5 times the price, and it's listed at $3,000 on Ticketmaster. And it really like that inconvenience, the what is it called? The demand for these tickets, but the inaccessibility, the trouble that you have to go through to get them. You really have to like brave it and know what you're doing and have experience to ensure you're going to get a ticket to one of these high caliber artists' tours nowadays. And the GP, the general public, does not have that gusto. So now it's reserved for the stands and the robots. That's the only people being able to get tickets to these shows. And that's really sad. And because most people don't even really have what it takes to fill up a stadium, the only person I'm willing to fight the robots and the stands for tickets for is Beyonce. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go through a bloodbath and spend $3,000 to see anybody in this economy. Not that I spent $3,000 to see Beyonce. Actually, my Renaissance ticket I got in the pre-sale, and I was not on the floor. I was in the 100s, but I was in row 4. So I was like, and I was seat number 1, so I was right on the edge, right by the stairs to go down to the floor. And so when she was walking around during Break My Soul, she was like right there. And when they were performing downstage for like Crazy in Love, she was like right there. I could see her with my naked eye. But everything else that was upstage, I would watch on the screens. It was a fantastic seat to have not been Club Renaissance or the seats up on the stage or like down there on the floor in one of those seats. But like I said, they're flat, they're not tiered. Even for me, a tall person, a tiered seating is nice because there's no struggle to see. Not everybody, people are 6'2", people are 6 foot. And when people are 6 foot wearing 5-inch heels, now I can't see either. You know what I mean? And so it was a perfect seat for Renaissance for me. And I was alone. If I had gone with a group of people, maybe Club Renaissance would have been more fun. We could go to the bar and stuff. But I just got a couple drinks before the show started, and then I just sat down and watched, or stood and watched rather, and was just enamored the entire time. That Renaissance tour for me in Nashville, all by myself, was crazy. And what was I saying about it? Oh, my ticket wasn't that bad. So that ticket, row 4, seat number 1, was I think like $250. this is the pre-sale. I was in the pre-sale. I waited in the queue. There was like 1,000 people in front of me. I waited till it got down. I took pictures at 100, 50, 10, 9, 8, 7, you know. And it was like $250. And then I paid for a parking pass in parking lot A, which is like the best parking pass. And so it was more expensive than the other ones. It was $50. So it was like $300 for the ticket and the parking pass, plus all those Ticketmaster taxes, right? So it's probably $400. But the actual price of the ticket and the parking pass was around $300 for that seat. It was really not that bad for the current climate of these stadium shows. And I will say I've never been to that Nashville stadium. I actually don't remember what it's called, the stadium in Nashville. But it was so convenient. Parking lot A was directly in front of the stadium doors. And I literally pulled Morticia, my car. I pulled Morticia into the parking lot A. I parked in my parking spot. I got myself together. I hid my bags under my seats in case people were going to break windows and steal stuff. And then I walked right up to the front door. I walked 30 yards to the front door, if that. And then I go inside. They scan my ticket. They check my little clear bag. And then there was a frozen spiked lemonade stand right there. And so I got in line. I got a frozen spiked lemonade. And then I walked down. There was very clear signage. I walked down on flat foot down to, because it was row 100 or section 100. And I walked down to my section. And by that time, it was kind of a walk. And by that time I got down to where I was going to be, my lemonade was gone. So I got me another little drink. And I got some French fries. And I took a waz, as Sam would say. Oh, maybe I shouldn't reference Nickelodeon shows in this climate. But anyway, so I pissed, for lack of a better term. I took a pee, pee-pee. That would be such a stupid moment to clip out of this podcast. I'd be like, bitch, what are you talking about? So I used the restroom, and then I went to my seat, and I was sitting next to this older black woman and her friend, and then the older black woman's daughter and her friend. And the daughter and her friend were huge fans, and they brought the mom and whoever this other lady was, right? And then I was on seat number 1 all by myself. And I was a little lit, and the opener was the DJ playing music. I was like, hey. I had to use the restroom again, but they were right by the thing, and I was right on the row, so it was perfect. I just ran up there. It was like not very far away. I would just go around and run in and go back out. Because once the show started, I'm not going to the bathroom, you know? Not in an interlude, not in nothing. I need to absorb everything. And so, yeah, Renaissance was just incredible. It's my best concert experience ever. I went by myself. Oh, and then when I left, I walked out to my car. I hopped in, because I tried to get there quick, but I was parked so close that even me moving quickly, I didn't have to go very far. And so I got to my car. I hopped in. I had to wait a little bit to get out of the parking lot. And I actually remember, I don't know why this happened, but I was like leaning my head in my window, and my arm got caught. My forearm was so long that it was the length of the window, like from top to bottom, and my forearm got caught in the parking lot. I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, my arm's stuck. And then I got it out. I don't know why I remember that. Probably because it was scary. It was scary as hell. Anyway, then I got out of the parking lot in like 2 minutes. So literally 30 seconds of me waiting to get out of the parking lot was me getting my arm stuck in the window. And then I get out of the parking lot, I drive a mile to my hotel, and I went to sleep. It was the best concert experience ever. I was by myself, and it was just so long, and I only had 2 drinks at the beginning. So by the time the show was over, there was no more drink in me. You know, I didn't drink anymore. It was just so much fun. I danced and sweat and lived, and that's what she said she wanted us to have. That kind of experience is what she wanted us to have at the Renaissance tour, and I did. But at the very end of the show, I'll never forget it. She said, Nashville, I'll see you soon. So if she goes on a Cowboy Carter tour, or whatever she calls it, I will go, for sure. And I'd love to go to Nashville. I'd love to go maybe in Atlanta in Nashville, maybe if I got my coins up. Because that Nashville experience was just too good. It was so perfect. But Atlanta obviously is home. I just couldn't go in Atlanta to Renaissance because my cousin was getting married, and I couldn't miss that. And so, yeah, what am I even talking about? Oh my goodness. Well, actually, it's good that I'm talking about Beyonce, because I do want to talk about how Cowboy Carter, did we hear how I said that? Moving on. Cowboy Carter is spending a second week at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 200. Can you believe that? I can, but can you believe it? Gag. It's the longest running number 1 album she's had since her self-titled album. So Beyonce has sent every single one of her 8 solo albums to number 1, but every single one since her self-titled album has been for a week, and then it would come back down, and then maybe go back up, or sometimes stay down, but a couple of them went back up, you know, but not consecutively. Cowboy Carter is number 1 for the first 2 weeks in a row. I cannot believe how many records she's breaking with a country record. Every time she steps out of her box, it makes her bigger. And that goes to show they cannot pressure you to conformity when you have examples of conformity being a detrimental factor in a career. When people don't change, it becomes stagnant and stale. When you change and you grow and you learn more things, you can do what you do well and everything else rather than just what you do well. It makes you a more versatile artist, and that's something I'm trying to learn. And for some reason, that was kind of a hard sentence to string together, but I did my best. Hello? 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 What the fuck, you guys? I sound panicked, but it's just because, I think it's my headphones. You guys, I think I keep tweaking every 5 seconds over this microphone cutting out, and it's been my headphone the whole time. You guys are going to think I'm so silly when I'm talking about, oh my God, is it cutting out? And it never is. That is so funny. So what I got to talk about? Oh, yeah, Cowboy Carter, 2 weeks, #1. I'm keeping it there. I just bought a copy on Amazon that's going to ship. Oh my God, by the way, did you see Beyonce went to that record store in LA? The same one she went to for Renaissance. Signed all those vinyls. And took pictures there and posted an Instagram reel with the sound Yaya from her album was the sound behind the reel. And why Yaya not even on the vinyl and the CD? My CD hasn't come yet, but when it comes, it's going to be missing a couple of songs. Oh, Louisiana and Yaya, and I think the Linda Martell stuff is missing. And that cracks me up because also the Act 2 was originally called Beyonce, which is Beyonce's mother's maiden name and the origin of Beyonce's name, Beyonce, Beyinc, Ya. Not Ya, that's just what she says in the song. And so Beyonce turned into Beyonce, became a first name, and of course Tina got married. Her name became Knowles, so did Beyonce's. And now it's Giselle Knowles Carter. I mean, Giselle's her middle name, but now it's Knowles Carter. Obviously, as you know, if you don't live under a rock. What am I even talking about? Like, I'm getting into the name origins. Like, Act 2 being called Beyonce. Yes, I am getting into the name origin. I would like a documentary. I would like a documentary about every album Beyonce makes. I think she makes some of the best music documentaries ever, and I think that's just because I've seen them all. Life is But a Dream is my favorite music documentary of all time and my favorite Beyonce movie. It is so incredible. If she'd put the Renaissance World Tour on streaming or available for purchase online somewhere, maybe it would be my favorite, but I only was able to watch it 3 times in the theater and have never been able to see it again. Beyonce, hello, where is it? I'm not even going to ask you for the Renaissance World. I'm not even going to ask you for the Renaissance visuals. At this point, we've moved on from that. Now I want the Renaissance movie, the live tour movie, and the album. Knock, knock, please and thank you. I'm going to at Avelle Noel, sure. Did I say her name? Did I say Avelle Noel? Her name is Yvette Noel, sure. Did I say her name? Did I say Yvette the first time? You can't answer me, but I'm like, what the hell? Avelle Noel? Avelle? Avelle would be a cool name. Have you ever met somebody named Avelle? Avelle. How would you spell that? With an E? Or she spelled with a U? Avelle. You can spell it like U-V-E-L-L-E. Avelle. Oh my God, I've never heard somebody named Avelle before. Avelle? Maybe I just came up with a new name by mispronouncing Yvette's name. Yvette Noel, sure. Anyway, that's Beyonce's publicist and Chloe and Halle's publicist and Kelly Rowland, all these other people. And Prince's before he passed. But I need a live album and a live tour movie other than just in the theater. Like, why would you make that movie and then put it in the theater and that's it? Are you effing serious? Are you serious? Anyway, I don't even remember what I was talking about. I guess I'm just going to move on. I am so funny. So I finished the Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition. There's only 2 seasons, and honestly, I really love that show. I like Dance Moms because there's some sort of nostalgia attached to it for me as a kid. But I think Abby Lee Miller herself was shown in a much better light on her 2 spin-off shows, Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition and Abby's Ultimate Studio Rescue, or Abby's Studio Rescue. I don't know what it was called. Maybe Ultimate, maybe just Studio Rescue. But Studio Rescue only got 1 season. Dance Competition only got 2 seasons. Dance Moms got 8 seasons. And I think she looks much better on the other 2 shows. And they're much lighter, warm. She's much more constructive. She looks less mean. She looks more like a teacher and less like a bully. And I know that all her behavior on Dance Moms was her. And I'm not trying to blame it on the edit, to quote RuPaul. But I feel like you can influence the way the public sees somebody by only showing the worst parts of them. You can't deny that makes them look better. When if you only show the worst parts of them, you don't show the good parts, you're not giving a balanced view of who they are. And I feel like that just is not deniable. And I feel like everybody tries to be, oh, you're blaming it on the edit. Oh, you said it. That's what RuPaul always says. And I'm like, yeah, of course they said that, because you're showing me that they said that. But what about the nice thing they said that you never gave us the context for? Because so we don't have the context of them being kind that humanizes this bad moment. Do you see what I'm saying? And a lot of the kids, well, actually not a lot of the kids, just Maddie and Mackenzie, and like Nia and Chloe, and Kelly, her daughters, Paige and Brooke. So kind of a lot of people have talked about how there was like it was a traumatizing experience for them as kids, which I can understand, and I'm not taking that away from it. I'm just talking about the way they showcased Abby as a teacher. I don't think her looking like a big bad mean bully probably helped her when she appeared to be defrauding the court in a bankruptcy filing. You know what I mean? They're probably like, oh, she's so smart and sneaky because she's like this on this TV show. At least that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if it's a jury case or a judge or what. I'd have to do some research. But she just had a rough go at things. And after she got out of jail, she had cancer. And then the cancer surgery paralyzed her, and now she can't walk. And I just find that she makes YouTube videos still regarding dance moms mainly. And I find that she still doesn't have a lot of empathy for those children or empathy for the way that they resent a TV show. And I think that she kind of feels left behind a little bit, and that's really sad. And I feel like that's a common theme with like big reality TV figures or like big talk show hosts. I'm thinking Wendy Williams, and her star kind of like sizzling out because of her medical diagnosis, but because of her situation, her falling out with the production people, and her husband cheating on her and having a double life, or like, I don't know, it's just so many icons fade into the light. I think Abby Lee Miller really is an icon. Not only did she change so much for the dance community and the competition community, but she's like a pop culture figure and has been for over 10 years now. And I don't think that takes away from what any of the children experienced or how any of those now grown people feel about what they experienced as a child. Obviously, I was not there, and they were, and their feelings are valid about their experiences. All I'm saying is that I think Abby's other TV shows that did not get as much attention or garner as much notoriety for her or for the contestants were better. And it's interesting that the more heartfelt, kind of warm, truly constructive TV shows were not popular with audiences. Shows you what people like. So yeah, I am trying to catch up on the Real Housewives because I was rewatching Dance Moms. I got really behind on all the other shows. Because you're busy, you can't sit around and watch TV all day. And so I'm like, when you're watching TV, it's like I'm gonna watch a TV show at night. Usually, I'm gonna watch a couple episodes of one show. I'm not gonna jump around usually unless it's like really important stuff like Drag Race, for example, or like a new episode of Drag Race on Friday and a new episode of whatever on Saturday, and I watch them both back to back. But I'm like, on a normal day, I'm just gonna watch a couple episodes of one show and then go to sleep. And so Dance Moms took up my time. It was like 8 seasons of TV. It took me a couple of months to watch it, and so I'm real behind on like Beverly Hills. I never finished Beverly Hills. I haven't finished Vanderpump Rules. I'm not caught up on the new season of Vanderpump Rules. These are all Bravo shows. And I'm not caught up on fuck ass Real Housewives of Potomac. Now, I've actually talked about the Real Housewives of Potomac before on an episode that I don't remember the number of, but the title was Colorism and Privilege. And I was talking about colorism and privilege through the lens of this reality television show, and that might sound kind of reductive, but it's a great example of light-skinned black people, and at one point a mixed black woman as well, having tension with other black folks that are not mixed about race and blackness and skin tone and privilege. And this is something that I feel compelled to speak about. Now, I make a point to say in my colorism and privilege episode that this is not a conversation that I want to platform myself in. So I want to make it clear first what colorism is. Colorism is when people of color, in this case I'm talking about black people, so light-skinned black people or mixed race black people, weaponize their lightness or their mixedness against people who are not light skinned. So darker skinned people. Now there is not, I'm sure there's some mixed person somewhere that's very dark skinned. So I can't just say, mixed people. I'm talking like black and white mixed people. I know a lot of black and white mixed people. I'm also a black and white mixed person myself. And so these are the people I'm really kind of speaking to, as well as, white passing black people who might not be mixed. There's also some of those in my family. Or not just white passing, but light skinned, black folks in general. Because I'm not necessarily white passing by any means, but there is a privilege in the lightness of my complexion in comparison to dark skinned or darker skinned people that benefits me on a day-to-day basis. And so I want to circle back to my point. This is not a conversation that I'm trying not to cross my legs, I forgot. This is not a conversation that I want to platform myself in, and I want to define colorism. Sorry, I'm too ADHD to have a serious conversation. I already did. I told you it's when light skin or mixed people weaponize their light skinned or their mixedness. And more so, it's when you have a bias. And like I said, maybe let me look up a definition actually, because I know that's not what it says online. I don't want to get cooked and I don't want to look ignorant. But I just want to let you know that I recognize this. Colorism, according to me typing it into my phone, says prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a darker skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. Okay, that's basically what I said. Perfect. Moving on. We're on the right path. And I'm still trying not to cross my legs. You saw I can't forget. I really can't break that habit. Can't break it. So on the Real Housewives of Potomac, there's these light-skinned assholes named Giselle and Robin. There's a mixed girl named Ashley. Ugh, I hate her. And there was a mixed girl a couple years ago named Katie that also had some racial tension with Giselle and Robin. And it wasn't her fault. It's always Giselle and Robin, by the way. Always. Although Katie's views were controversial too, Giselle and Robin are the ones that have proven with time to really... I don't know how... If you guys don't watch the show, you can't really oh my God. I just fucked up the shot. Oh my God. Is that right? That's crazy. So if you don't watch the show, you aren't going to know exactly the nuances of what I'm talking about if I start bringing up all these people's names and start telling you about their dynamic. And so I'm not going to do that actually. But I'm just going to say briefly, what's happening on the Real Housewives of Potomac right now, if you are privy, is really frustrating to me. And I'm happy that Candace is leaving because I don't think she should subject herself to this sort of treatment from those women any longer. I also feel bad for how Wendy is being treated and how her culture is being weaponized against her by that mixed bitch, Ashley. And I just think that it's really sad to it's sad for me to watch this and not be able to yell through the TV. It drives me nuts to watch how they treat these women. And it's so frustrating to me that mixed people, especially, but light skin, I think it probably is harder for light skinned people who aren't mixed because they're 100% black. They're like, I have 2 black parents and I'm black. For me as a mixed person, maybe this is why I'm able to understand it a little bit easier. It's not that I am not a part of culture or a part of the culture. It's just that there's certain things that don't affect me the way that they affect other black people. And I have to acknowledge this. And so when I was a kid, and I hate how every mixed person, not every mixed person, I can't generalize, but I hate how a lot of mixed people like to play their tiny violin about how, everybody was so mean to me and this and that and da-da-da-da-da. And I've sung that song at some point in my life too, but I know better now. And I know that when I was a kid and I was struggling with white people, it's just because they're racist. And that's just that those people were racist. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And why would you try to be friends with those people? They're racist. However, the struggles that I thought I was having with some of my black friends where they'd make comments about being mixed and I'd feel like, oh, whatever. They were right. Looking back, the things that they were telling me are things that I was ignorant to because there were things I didn't understand and things I didn't know. And that probably made me feel defensive at that time. Now I know better. And so that's kind of vague, and that's not really saying anything specifically, or maybe it does. I hope that clicks with you or resonates. But I just think that mixed people and light-skinned folks need to understand that things like police systemic racism in the police departments and in the government is something that affects people more who align with a certain stereotype that reductive and ignorant people maintain. And it's not just white people, and that's why I can't say white people. There's a lot of ignorant people of color. And so the court systems and the police force and the police departments and the police, system as a whole are all very inherently racist. And that racism affects people who align less with European-centric standards. So when you're a mixed person and you're literally a 50-50, concoction of a European person and a black person, there's bound to be some sort of European nature in your appearance. My complexion, my hair. And the way people talk about my hair or the struggles that I have with my hair is not the same struggle as somebody who has 4C hair, or the way that somebody talks about their 4C or their 4B or their 4A hair. It's not the same struggle. The struggle that I feel, or the lack thereof, related to my skin tone is not the same as somebody who's a dark-skinned person. And so I think, this is how I like to phrase this, as a person who doesn't feel like a man, but looks like a man, there's a privilege there. I can walk down the street at night and not feel inherently threatened just because I am who I am. I'm not, a woman who's afraid of being assaulted, or a short little ultra feminine looking non-binary person, or super, kind of androgynous looking person who might feel a threat or a target walking home at night on their back. I don't really feel that. There's a privilege that lies within that. Light-skinnedness or mixedness, rather, there is a privilege in that. There is inherent privilege in that. It's not the same as a white person's privilege, but it's a percentage. And I hate to reduce it to it's a math equation, but white people have more privilege, mixed people have a certain amount of privilege, black people have a less privilege. And I don't know why that's something that some people can't confront. We have to be honest about the circumstances within which we all face so we can make change. So me recognizing my privilege, there's power in that. Not for me, though. Because I can use my privilege to lift up a voice of somebody who lacks it. And because I am aware of the power in that, I can assist in change making. Does that make sense? Do you see what I'm saying? There are some conversations I can contribute to. And there are some conversations where I'm going to phone a friend that's going to tell you better than I can what the tea is and how the tea might change, how we can change the temperature. Do you see what I'm saying? There are some things that I can speak to. There are some things that I should recognize. There is something for example, if we're talking about women, I can lift up my female friends to talk about women's issues. If we're talking about trans people, trans women or trans men, I can lift up my trans friends to talk about their issues. If we're talking about trans non-binary people, I can contribute to that conversation. I can invite other people that I know who are trans non-binary, or they use they them pronouns, or she they or he they pronouns, or any combination of them, ZZ or it's or whatever, any pronouns. Those people can contribute to the conversation. If we're talking about Black issues and systemic racism, I am going to lift up somebody who better understands the issues so I can learn from them and you can too. It's not that I don't have opinions about these issues that are sound. I can talk about police reform, I can talk about systemic racism. But I mean, I've had a scary pulling over experience. And looking back in retrospect, it was really scary because of the fear surrounding the police and how I'm afraid of whatever. But looking back, I'm like, it was a dark, rainy night, and the cop pulls me over for speeding. And he looked at my car, and I was like, I tried to, of course, be very, hello, sir, hi, how are you? Being very polite, trying to get out of it. And he let me off with a warning because there was nothing on my record, and it was, my first pulling over offense. And I was like, it was a dark, rainy night. And I remember I was carrying handbags back then, so I had like this black leather handbag, and I kind of had to I was like, sir, my wallet's in my purse. And so I was trying to I hate to say it, I hate to be honest about this, but I was trying to show what I am, who I am, what I is. So he would feel less threatened. I don't think you're probably as threatened by a gay guy who carries a purse as you would be by a 6'2" biracial Black man. Do you see what I'm saying? When you frame me as a 6'2" mixed Black dude, or you frame me as a gay person with a handbag and hi sir and hello, and I don't know, man. I just realized in that moment that some people don't have anything to default. I'm not saying being gay is a privilege with the cops. That's not what I mean at all. I'm just saying there was a unthreatening nature to whatever and whoever I was in my car on the causeway that evening. And some people might not have had access to something that made them appear non-threatening to the powers that be. And the powers that be aren't fair. The powers at be have unchecked biases that they don't ever address or shed light upon, bring light to, and certainly don't correct. And so it could have been a different cop that night who was violently homophobic, or it could have been a different situation, but it wasn't. You see what I'm saying? And so it's just, there's a fear that I have, and I realized then I can't imagine how some other people might feel. It's a sticky situation, but there is privilege in looking like a man, or privilege in being, mixed. There is privilege in being light-skinned. There is privilege in not being trans, especially in this climate. And I mean like a trans man or a trans woman. Non-binary people are also trans, but like I said, I look like a man. If I'm being perceived by somebody who doesn't know me, they're going to say man. And so it's just a different kind of struggle. That's another thing that I think non-binary people should understand, is that sometimes when you present in alignment with some sort of a stereotype of something people understand, there is also a privilege in that. And I don't know what am I going to title this episode? Privilege? I don't know. But, and no, I have an episode called Colorism and Privilege, so maybe that's not the best title. But watching Real Housewives of Potomac is really triggering for me, and that sounds like Sheena on Vanderpump Rules trying to make it about her. It's not triggering to me because I'm not dark skinned, but it was just like I had to turn it off. I couldn't continue the tension and the anxiety I felt watching that, and watching Candace and Wendy and Kierna. I was only watching the clips of the reunion. I really don't even want to support them with ratings, and so I didn't watch the whole thing. I don't know how to say her name. Sorry, girl. But watching them be Kiarna and Wendy and Candace being chastised and bullied by Giselle and Robin, and Ashley and Deborah. Oh my God. And Mia. It was rough. It was real rough. It was real rough. It just makes me sick. I don't know. I hope they cancel that TV show. I just felt like on when Eva Marcel, and I like her, she's very funny, but when Eva Marcel came on Real Housewives of Atlanta, she was making some colorist ass comments. She got checked so fast. Kenya checked her so fast, and they're friends, but Kenya checked her so fast, and they kept it pushing. And I just feel like Real Housewives of Potomac doesn't have that quality. Doesn't have that quality. There's no learning that happens. So Deeper Well by Kacey Musgraves is an album that I've said a gazillion times I'm going to come back to. And this week is the week. Her album, her fourth album, I think. Is it her fifth album, Kacey? I think it's her fourth album. It is, no, it's her fifth album. And it is stunning work. I'm just going to go through really quickly and tell you my favorite songs. And Kacey Musgraves is just that kind of music you have to listen to. It's so chill. It's so vibed out. The lyrics are always so relatable. They're always so understandable. She somehow finds a new expression that we all use every single album to make a song about. And I don't know how she has not run out of them yet. And I just love her songwriting. So track one's Cardinal. It's just a song. It's beautiful. I like it. Kacey Musgraves is one of those artists that I can just press play. I can just press play on any song, and I'm pretty much guaranteed to like it. And so I can't even tell you like what some of these songs like sound like just off the top of my dome because I didn't read the track list as I was listening. But like I said, I just play her music and I play it and I play it and I play it. It's just so peaceful and beautiful. Deeper Well was the single, my favorite song, also the title track. Too Good to Be True is a beautiful song. Also, Tiny Habits made a TikTok with her singing this song when she came to their show in Nashville, Cunty. I love Moving Out. Definitely top 3 for me. Love Moving Out. Love Moving Out. Love Moving Out. Let's talk about the lyrics. Love it. 4 walls and so much space. It was way more than just a place, wasn't it, babe? The bedroom where you pulled me in, I found out love could start again. Start again. And that big tree in the front yard lost a limb. It almost crushed your car, but it didn't. Yeah, we kept living in that house, planted roses all around, leaving it better than we found it. Now autumn's moving in, and we're moving out. Now the way she frames those lyrics, the melody makes it flow beautifully, but when you read it like that, it sounds like a poem. And I love that song. I'm telling you, this lady can write the hell out of a song. Give or Take Her, I also really like. Sway. Deeper Well, Moving Out, and Sway are kind of my favorites. Sway is just like, she's like a palm tree, just sway. It gives me goosebumps to say that because I'm like, it's some things, sometimes you hear a song or you listen to a song, you're like, oh, I should have thought of that. Why did I never think to write a song and say just sway? I grew up on the beach. Why didn't I think to write like a palm tree, just sway? You know, like I saw that every day. Why didn't I think about that? Why didn't I think about it? When the wind blows, it can push you around. It can shake you. Maybe you can show me because it seems like you know how not to let it phase you. If I didn't want to take control, I could let go. Maybe one day I'll learn how to sway. If I surrender, if I let go, will you hold me? Maybe one day I'll learn how to sway. Like a palm tree in the wind, I won't break, I'll just bend. And I'll sway. Like a palm tree in the wind, I won't break, I'll just bend. And I'll sway. Wow. Dinner with Friends, beautiful. Heart of the Woods, beautiful. Makes me want to go to the woods and listen to it. There's this reaction channel on YouTube, this father and son, that I like to watch sometimes, and something about a table, around the table or something. And they were in the woods listening to the album. And when Heart of the Woods came on, he was like, this is just great. This is just perfect. Jade Green, I love songs about colors, and I love that song. The Architect, top 5, like top 3. That's another one of my favorites, maybe, like top 3. But I've already said 4 songs are in the top 3. How's that work? But The Architect is just, again, why didn't I think of that? It's basically, is there a God? Is there a maker? What's this all about? Let me read some lyrics. Even something as small as an apple, it's simple and somehow complex. Sweet and divine, the perfect design, can I speak to the architect? Was it thought out at all, or just paint on a wall? Is there anything that you regret? I don't understand. Are there blueprints or plans? Can I speak to the architect? Does it happen by chance? Is it all happenstance, or do we have any say in this mess? Is it too late to make some more space? Can I speak to the architect? This life that we make, is it random or fate? Can I speak to the architect? And then it ends. Is there an architect? She's so good at this. She's so good at this. Lonely Millionaire, so relatable for her. I'm just a lonely broke bitch. Heaven Is, I love Actually, I don't remember it. I was about to be so fake. Could I turn the mic off for a second? Let me see. I remember it now, and I like it. Yeah, Heaven is good. And then the last two tracks, Anime Eyes, Nothing to Be Scared of. That's the whole album. Like I said, she's just the type of music you want to listen to. Just press play and go. She's so good, and I love her. I love her so much. You guys. So episode 62 of KOBLIZZY. This was just, it was a quick catch up. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will stick around and listen to some more episodes in lieu of me posting a new one. I'll be back next Tuesday, just like I always am, for another, well, not always. Sometimes I forget, and sometimes I'm a little late. But next week, I'll be back on Tuesday with another episode of KOBLIZZY, episode 63, to be precise. But in the meantime, this was episode 62. I hope you enjoyed it. You can go to my website, KOBLIZZY.com, to see my portfolio, my music, and all of my pictures. That was my portfolio. And my podcast is the other thing on there. You can write me an email as well on that website. That's KOBLIZZY.com. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and that's it. And YouTube, at KOBLIZZY. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment, like the video. If you're watching or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can leave some stars, give me a rating. I love you so much. Thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for joining me or being here for the first time. Yeah. Bye, guys.